Howdy, welcome back to Pecan Ranch. It is just a little bit before sunrise. The sun is just starting to come up and it's a nice dreary morning. It's cold, it's drizzly, and today I want to talk to you about the realities of farming. I don't mean to intimidate anybody or scare them out of getting into farming, but what I do want to do is let you be prepared for some of the realities involved and talk a little bit about that. Normally, for the sake of the video, I would start filming. If I'm going to be filming, I would start a little bit later in the day, mostly because of lighting. So I'm going to take you on my morning chore routine this morning and talk to you a little bit about some of the reality, some of the behind the scenes things that I can't catch on camera at all times. For instance, we had some issues last night that we're going to talk about. So I've got my feed buckets loaded up. I'm going to head out to the big pigs out on the back pasture and see how they're doing this morning, and then make my rounds and feed the rest of them. So we'll see you all back out on the back pasture. Well, welcome back, folks. So the pigs aren't even out of bed yet this morning. That's kind of partially why I like to start my days so early, is I like to get up before the animals, get a head start on them. And let's go on over and see if they are in bed where I put them to bed last night. Last night was their first night out here on this pasture. And that's going to be one of the difficulties, one of the tough things about farming that I want to talk to y'all about. Yeah, there they are. They're tucked away, all cozy in bed. I think they hear me coming. Good morning, piggies. Good morning, piggies. Did you sleep good? Did you sleep good? How are you piggies doing? Good morning, piggies. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, yawn. Would you piggies like some sweet feed? I got you some sweet feed. All right, come on. Let's get up. All right, so you've got it in your mind that you want to become a farmer. And I don't want to be the one to discourage you, but I want you to be prepared for what is necessary to run a farm. Now, when I talk about this, the things I'm talking about are more in relation to livestock, large livestock. Now, you're not going to encounter nearly as much work when you're just raising chickens, and that's why I always suggest start with chickens, because it is a much more passive enterprise and does not require nearly as much work and effort as larger livestock like cattle and pigs, things of that nature. Hang on, let me get these pigs a little bit of sweet feed. All right, let's get on some on the other side. Come on, piggies. I'm putting some over here too. There you go. So involving a larger livestock, or having a larger type of livestock in your operation, is just going to involve more time and energy. Honestly, no matter at what scale you do it. Now, I will say that less pigs also is going to equal less work, but only to a degree. Honestly, the difference between 3 pigs and 7 pigs is nominal, realistically, as far as the work, time, and effort put into it. So let's talk a little bit about last night. This is just an example of some of the tougher days. I mean, there's an old saying. It says sometimes, some days you get the bear, some days the bear gets you. And yesterday, it's kind of a mix of both. We had some successes, we had some failures, we had some hard work, hard trials involved. So probably got a bear or two, but then there were a couple bears that got us. This is the first night that these pigs had spent out here on this pasture. And so I came out here in the late afternoon to check on them. And somehow they had managed to get into the trail leading up to the front pasture, which was kind of scary because I had de-energized that fence on the trail side thinking that we weren't going to need it for the time being. And fortunately, they respected that wire. They just had crawled underneath the gate, and they were stuck in that trail. For some reason, they weren't motivated enough to crawl back under the gate to get back out here, and so they're stuck in that little area. I can't imagine for very long, because one of them would have discovered eventually that wire wasn't hot and gone out into the woods. So so we let them in. So we got them, we got that gate situation fixed. We ran a hot wire underneath it, and that way they don't want to crawl underneath it. And that did work for 5 of the 7 pigs. I have 2 pigs that are that have become, if they're motivated enough, will test gates. They will not test the electric fencing itself, but they will test gates. And somehow 2 of them, I don't know how they did it, they managed to get back in that trail again. So I had come back out here in the evening as it was getting dark. They were all lined up at that gate wanting to come home, come to the place that they sleep in. So I had to convince them basically that they wanted to be out here. They wanted to sleep out here. So I literally had to go put pigs to bed, tuck them into bed basically. I coaxed, I got them, all 7 of them, to follow me over to the little bed of straw that we had made for them in the woods, kind of a little sheltered area, in a kind of a denser thicket there that looked like a perfect little habitat for them. And so we've got a couple bales of straw that we put in there for nice bedding. I got them all in there, and they didn't really, and I thought, okay, I'll lead them to it, then I'll just get up and walk off. They weren't having that. They didn't feel comfortable out here. They are still pretty young, and they feel more confident and more comfortable when I'm around. So, so I had to sit there in the hay or in the straw with them and pet them and talk to them until they all fell asleep. Once they fell asleep, I was able to slip away and go back home. And now granted, it's wintertime, so it wasn't super late. It was only about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night or so. And then whenever I got home, I got, take my overalls off, get into my comfy clothes, get ready for dinner. And I was getting ready to eat dinner when the 4 little pigs had gotten out. Same scenario, same situation, same issue as the gates. Now, again, I've fixed that, but that meant I had to go out there. I had to get the pigs back into their bed because, again, they think that their home was the chicken pen and not their pen. So I worked the same solution for that gate, ran a hot wire underneath it, and problem was solved. But by that time, after having to go out a second time and deal with that, and then I come back in after spending about an hour or so out there getting them settled and taken care of. I go back inside, then get comfortable yet again, and now I'm eating a cold dinner. That's just an example. And again, it's not like the worst thing in the world, but it's an example of what the things that you could have to deal with. The thing is a Saturday night. It's not, it's not a work week, not a weekday. You have to work on weekends, you have to work nights, you have to work holidays if you're going to be raising even at a not so large scale. We're not talking a huge operation here. So I just want people to be prepared for that idea. Don't think to yourself, hey, I'm gonna go get, having no farming experience at all whatsoever. I'm gonna go get, or moderate, minor, little bit of farming experience. I'm gonna go get, 10 head of cattle, or 7 pigs, 11 pigs, 10 pigs, whatever, and I'm gonna farm them, and I'll just do this part-time. There's no such thing, really, as a part-time farmer in the world of large livestock. You're full-time, and what that means is if you have another job where you go out to go make your money, you're taking on a second full-time job. This isn't part-time. Every single morning, every single day, there's something to do and something to take care of on the farm. And it's not just the animals. There's also land management involved, and this obviously scales depending upon the size of land you have, but everything works together in a flow, and you have to ensure that all of the cogs in that wheel are greased and nothing's off track, right? And it doesn't matter what the weather is either. It could be raining, it could be snowing, it could be blistering hot out. All the elements. The weather doesn't revolve around your schedule. Your schedule can't revolve around the weather. You can't say, well, it's not like if you're growing some petunias out in the front yard. Oh, it's too cold, it's too wet, it's too dreary outside. I'm not going to go outside and tend to that garden. These pigs or these animals, they need you. No matter what the weather is, if they need you, you've got to get out there in the elements and deal with it. So, and again, I'm not trying to discourage anybody. In fact, I love this. I have a passion for farming. The end result is well worth the added work involved. But for instance, today is Sunday, so I'm up early. I've got to get my morning chores done, taken care of, and then I've got to shower, change, and head to church. And then in this afternoon, I've got some projects that need to get addressed here on the farm, because this next week I've got to be off the farm doing some work for another farm. And so that means that I'll have limited time this next week, which means I've got to tackle the projects necessary this weekend. So just be prepared mentally. Just be prepared mentally for the fact that there will be work involved. There will be days where it's going to be tough. You're going to be, and to top it all off, yesterday morning, we started our morning right about, like before I had even gotten out of bed, my son came in and told me that we had pigs out in the cow pasture. So we started our morning hopping up, getting out of bed, throwing on clothes, grabbing the boots, heading out, figuring out why the hot wire was down, how they had ended up in the cow pasture, and getting them all wrangled up, and all of this before I could even have a cup of coffee. So just bear in mind that your days will frequently start before the sunrise and end long after the sunset. And to top it all off, fill in whatever other job you have. If you're an accountant, or if you're, a mechanic, or whatever your job is, your Monday through Friday gig, that's got to get factored in there too. So don't be discouraged, just be prepared is what I'm saying. Now, there are many steps and many things that and this is why, especially for the smaller operation, it is extremely important to have systems in place to minimize the amount of work that you have to put. Make it as easy on yourself as possible. And you can have this stuff in place before you even get your first animal. So, because once you get animals, you don't have a choice. You've got to keep moving. You've got to keep progressing. You've got to keep adapting. So you want to be as prepared as possible. And that's really why this channel exists, is I want you all to have as much information as possible before you even purchase your first pig or your first head of cattle, so that way you're prepared, have everything in place, and you're not having to adapt on the fly. And what I mean by having good systems in place is you don't want to buy pigs and then build a pig pen. You want to have your long game in mind. I already knew before I had even picked up pigs that this was going to be the pasture that they were eventually going to be grazing on. I knew that they would graze up there, but I knew that they'd be coming back out here to forage. And so I had the systems put in place in mind before they even came to the farm. We already had a home base, a pig training pen for electric fence. We already had I already had scoped out and decided my design of my paddocks around here. I already had, a pig shelter built back up there. And even at that, we still had to improvise just a little bit. We moved them out here a little bit earlier than we honestly anticipated. The weather's starting to warm up a little bit quicker than I had anticipated, and I think we're going to have a relatively early spring, so I needed to get them out here sooner than anticipated by about a month. And because I already had everything in place just in case we needed to do that, it was a little bit easier of a transition. You want to have, for instance, this is their main supplementary feed source, and in here I've got about 200 pounds of feed, and it can fill up to more. I could put 400 pounds of feed in here pretty easily. And that cuts down on, that means that I'm not having to bring out, 30 pounds of feed every single day. The only reason I'm coming out here every day is I've got to check on them, make sure they're doing okay, and I want them to be, used to my presence. I want them to enjoy my presence, and so I come out here with a little bit of sweet feed as a treat. And we're going to do that with the other pigs and the cattle this morning as well. So again, not discouraging, just keep all these things in mind and be aware that you will be spending a lot of time dealing with your animals, dealing with your infrastructure. There's always going to be some sort of project that needs to be done. So before you bring your first animal to your farm, have your automated systems in place, have your infrastructure in place, think as far ahead as you possibly can. What's your end game? What do you want? What is your end goal in mind, and have everything from A to Z worked out. Now, you'll probably have to make some changes and improvise and adapt along the way, but at least all of the groundwork will be laid, and you'll be able to minimize some of the work, the daily work that you have to do, and just have a mindset that you need to be a couple steps ahead of these animals. And so that way whenever it is a bad day, it's rough weather, and you're out late at night trying singing your pigs a lullaby to get them to go to bed, you're not going to be too burned out. And I want people to just think about it. And then also ask yourself the question, is this something that I am going to be willing to do? And if you're not willing to do it, don't do it. I don't want anyone to get involved in farming and then decide that it's ruined their life and it's miserable. And that also will in turn make it miserable for the animals. So think long and hard about it. decide if this is the life that you want to live. And again, you can baby step into it. What you should do, what I recommend, is start with some chickens. They are the most passive enterprise. Especially, they're very scalable. You can start very, very small. You can just keep 3 or 4 chickens. You can go to 6, have a dozen, and it's not all that bad. A dozen chickens is not a lot of work. The chickens basically take care of themselves. They don't require nearly as much attention as pigs or cattle. So this is just, this is not me complaining at all. I very much enjoy doing this. It's just kind of a reality check, I hope, for some people to understand that it's not all fun and games and life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. There's difficult days. And I'm gonna try my best to be more vigilant about trying to keep a camera on me at all times, so that way I can hopefully show you some of these tougher, more difficult days. I mean, there's a minor snafu the other day when I was building this pig feeder, how I had to go wrangle some pigs real quick. But I'd like to show you folks more of that. And it's just sometimes there isn't going to be the opportunity to get video during those scenarios because I've got to act really quick and I can't really be thinking about filming. I've got the animals' safety in mind, and that's priority number 1. So I hope you understand that I'm not going to always be able to get video of those situations per se, because my top priority is taking care of these animals, and I can't be necessarily thinking about grabbing a camera, grab a tripod, set up a camera, and get some good B-roll footage and stuff like that. Like I've got to be focused on the animals and taking care of them. I hope this was informative. I hope that you can understand where I'm coming from, and I hope that you get the picture. Just understand there is work involved, and just be ready to do some work. Be ready to have some early mornings and late nights. Anyhow, I've got to get going with the rest of my day. I've got more animals to go check on and bring feed out to. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Comment below if some of you farmers out there have experienced these types of days where, and I know you have, and tell your story of your rough day that you've had, whether it be recently or way back in the past. And let me know if you have any suggestions for any video topics in the future. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos, and I can hopefully give you as much knowledge and information as possible to help you succeed in your dream of operating a farm. I really, really want that for all of you. I want you all to have the dream farm. So subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're aware of whenever I release new videos and you don't miss anything. I hope all is well at your farm. I hope all is well in your farm planning, whatever stages your farm is at. I hope that this video finds you very well, and that you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. And until the next time, we will see you all back at the ranch.